What if I told you that Eddie Murphy's iconic role in Beverly Hills Cop almost went to Sylvester Stallone? Or that one crazy banana prank in the movie actually caused chaos in real-life car chases? Today, we're diving into 20 of the weirdest, most unbelievable, and hidden facts about Beverly Hills Cop that will completely change how you see this blockbuster. Number 1. Sylvester Stallone's dark version of Axel Foley. Before Eddie Murphy came on board, the role of Axel Foley was actually written for Sylvester Stallone, but Stallone didn't want to play it as a comedy. He rewrote the script into a serious, gritty action film. He even renamed Axel Foley to Axel Cabretti, a no-nonsense cop who would bring raw violence instead of laughs. The problem? Stallone's rewrites made the film too expensive and way too dark for Paramount Pictures. Days before filming, Stallone walked away, and Eddie Murphy was cast instead. If that switch hadn't happened, Beverly Hills Cop would have been a completely different and much less funny movie. Number 2. Eddie Murphy's improvisation created some of the best scenes. One of the weirdest things about this movie is how much of it wasn't even in the script. Eddie Murphy was famous for improvising, and director Martin Brest let him go wild. For example, the scene where Axel Foley bluffs his way into a fancy hotel by pretending to be a Rolling Stone reporter. Totally improvised. The crew was in stitches, and the scene was so good, it stayed in. In fact, Paramount later admitted that Eddie Murphy's improvisations saved the movie, turning what was once a generic buddy cop script into one of the funniest action comedies of all time. Number 3. The banana-in-the-tailpipe prank had real-life consequences. The banana-in-the-tailpipe gag is one of the most famous scenes in the movie. But here's the weird part. After Beverly Hills Cop came out, police departments across the U.S. reported pranksters actually trying it in real life. Mechanics even said they had to start checking tailpipes for random junk because copycats were jamming bananas, rags, and even socks in cars. What was meant as a silly movie joke briefly turned into a strange urban trend, and car owners were not amused. Number 4. The studio almost didn't trust Eddie Murphy to lead. In 1984, Eddie Murphy was a rising star thanks to Saturday Night Live and 48 Hours, but Paramount was nervous about giving him a lead role in a major $15 million production. Executives were worried that audiences wouldn't buy a young comedian as a tough Detroit cop. To protect themselves, they quietly prepared backup scripts where Foley would be turned into a side character if Murphy didn't work out. But when test audiences saw Murphy's first takes, the studio knew instantly they had a star, and all those backup plans were scrapped. Number 5. The director was almost fired during filming. Here's a behind-the-scenes shocker. Martin Brest, the director, was nearly fired halfway through production. The studio thought he wasn't moving fast enough and was letting Eddie improvise too much, which they feared would ruin the pacing. Paramount was ready to replace him with another director, but Murphy himself backed Brest and convinced the producers to let him stay. That decision turned out to be a blessing, because Brest's willingness to let scenes breathe and to trust Murphy's comedic instincts was exactly what gave the movie its unique balance of action and comedy. Number 6. Eddie Murphy was only 23 years old when he filmed it. It's hard to believe, but when Eddie Murphy starred as Axel Foley, he was just 23 years old. At that time, most action stars were seasoned veterans in their 30s or 40s. Murphy wasn't only the youngest lead in a major action comedy, he was also improvising like a seasoned pro. Crew members often said it felt like they were watching a stand-up set between takes, because Murphy could flip from intense cop to hilarious comedian in a second. His youth gave Axel Foley a unique energy, cocky, street-smart, and unpredictable, that an older actor might not have pulled off. Number 7. Beverly Hills didn't want them filming there. Here's something weird. When the production started, the city of Beverly Hills was not excited about the movie. City officials worried the film would portray their community as elitist or corrupt, and some even tried to limit filming permits. The studio had to negotiate and reassure the city that it wouldn't be portrayed in a negative light. Ironically, the final movie ended up defining the image of Beverly Hills for millions of viewers around the world, complete with luxury cars, flashy mansions, and over-the-top wealth. Number 8. The soundtrack became a pop culture monster. The film's soundtrack, especially Harold Faltermeyer's Axel F theme, wasn't just popular. It was a worldwide sensation. But here's the crazy part. That synth-driven track wasn't meant to be the main theme. It was originally created as a placeholder, just a piece of experimental music to test tone during editing. But test audiences loved it so much, the studio kept it. Axel F went on to top charts in multiple countries and is still instantly recognizable today. Even people who have never seen the film can hum the tune. It's that iconic. Number 9. The famous strip club scene almost got cut. One of the most memorable moments is Axel in the strip club, where he casually spots two armed guys about to cause trouble. But here's the twist. Paramount executives nearly cut the entire scene. They felt it slowed down the story and was too raunchy for the film's pacing. Eddie Murphy fought to keep it, arguing that it perfectly balanced humor with Foley's sharp detective instincts. In the end, the studio relented, and today, it's seen as one of the best showcases of Foley's street-smart charm. Number 10. The film saved Paramount Pictures financially. This might be the weirdest fact of all. Beverly Hills Cop literally saved Paramount Pictures from a rough patch. In 1984, the studio was struggling with several underperforming movies, and expectations for this one weren't high. But thanks to Eddie Murphy's star power and the film's perfect blend of comedy and action, it grossed over $316 million worldwide, making it the highest-grossing film of 1984. Without Axel Foley, Paramount might not have survived that financial slump. So, in a way, Eddie Murphy didn't just play a cop, he rescued an entire studio. Number 11. Eddie Murphy improvised nearly 80% of his dialogue. Believe it or not, much of Axel Foley's iconic dialogue wasn't in the script at all. Eddie Murphy had a habit of throwing out the written lines and riffing on the spot. Director Martin Brest quickly realized Murphy's improvisations were gold and let him run with it. Scenes like the Super Cop story and Axel messing with Beverly Hills hotel staff were largely unscripted. This approach gave Axel his unique voice and unpredictability, making him feel more real than a polished, scripted character ever could. Number 12. The shootout at the end was nearly cancelled. The climactic shootout at Victor Maitland's mansion, one of the film's most exciting moments, was actually at risk of being scrapped. Paramount was worried about the cost of staging such a massive action sequence, with squibs, explosions, and stunts. At one point, they even suggested replacing it with a simpler, talk-it-out ending. But Brest fought hard, arguing that the film needed a big, high-stakes finale. The gamble paid off. The mansion shootout gave the movie its pulse-pounding conclusion and cemented Axel Foley as a true action hero. Number 13. Sylvester Stallone's rejected script was used later. Before Eddie Murphy came on board, Sylvester Stallone was supposed to star in the movie. He completely rewrote the script into a serious action film with little comedy, and even gave the character a new name, Axel Cobretti. When he left the project, Paramount thought his version was too expensive and too dark. But here's the twist. Stallone reworked his draft into another movie, Cobra 1986. So, in a strange way, Beverly Hills Cop gave birth to another 80s action classic. Number 14. The film was shot out of sequence for Eddie's schedule. Because Eddie Murphy was still doing Saturday Night Live during production, the shooting schedule had to bend around him. This meant scenes were filmed completely out of order. Some days, Murphy would shoot a dramatic police scene in the morning, then immediately switch gears to a comedic hotel scene in the afternoon. It was chaotic for the crew, but Murphy never seemed rattled. His ability to switch tones so quickly added to the electric energy of the final film. Number 15. Judge Reinhold added quirks to Billy Rosewood that weren't scripted. Judge Reinhold who played Detective Billy Rosewood, was originally supposed to be just a bland sidekick. But Reinhold added subtle quirks, like Rosewood's boyish curiosity and awkward humor, that completely changed the character. For example, his goofy fascination with Axel's bold antics wasn't scripted at all. It was Reinhold's idea. This helped balance the trio of cops, giving Rosewood a lovable personality that fans adored. Without those touches, Billy might have been forgettable, but instead, he became one of the most endearing characters in the series. Number 16. The iconic theme song almost didn't exist. Axel F, the instantly recognizable electronic theme, is one of the most famous movie themes of all time. But here's the crazy part. It was almost never written. Harold Faltermeyer, the composer, created it quickly as a temporary filler track, just to help set the tone while editing. But once the producers heard it, they knew it was perfect. The studio even tried replacing it with more traditional orchestral music, but test audiences demanded the synth track. What was supposed to be background filler became a worldwide hit and climbed the Billboard chart. Number 17. The banana-in-the-tailpipe scene was inspired by a real prank. One of the funniest moments in the film, Axel Foley shoving bananas in the tailpipe of a car, wasn't entirely fictional. That prank was reportedly inspired by a real-life stunt played by a crew member years earlier on another movie set. Originally, the gag was supposed to involve potatoes, but Murphy suggested bananas because they were more absurd. The result? A scene so funny that it became one of the most quoted jokes of the entire 1980s. Number 18. The studio feared Eddie Murphy was too urban for mainstream audience. Before the film's release, Paramount executives were nervous that Eddie Murphy's humor and energy might not resonate with mainstream, mostly white suburban audiences. Some even thought the film could flop because they underestimated Murphy's star power. Of course, the exact opposite happened. Murphy's charisma not only carried the film, but turned it into one of the biggest box office hits of the decade, proving that audiences were ready for a new kind of action-comedy star. Number 19. The famous Super Cop story was completely improvised. The hilarious Super Cop story Axel tells Taggart and Rosewood was never in the script. Eddie Murphy just started riffing about how their boss would spin the story if he knew the truth. Judge Reinhold and John Ashton's reactions in the scene are genuine. They weren't expecting Murphy to go off like that, which is why their laughter feels so real. What started as an off-the-cuff bit of improv ended up being one of the most memorable comedic moments in the film. Number 20. Beverly Hills Cop was the highest-grossing film of 1984. Here's the grand finale. Despite all the doubts, rewrites, and production challenges, Beverly Hills Cop became the highest-grossing movie of 1984, beating out Ghostbusters, Indiana Jones, and The Temple of Doom, and Gremlin. It earned over $316 million worldwide, an insane amount for its time. Not only did it make Eddie Murphy a global superstar, but it also redefined what an action comedy could be. Without this film's success, Hollywood might not have leaned so heavily into the action comedy formula that dominated the late 80s and 90s.